a while since it was just me talking. So this is a little bit new for some new, viewers or listeners, whatever platform you're listening on. But it has been a year. That's for sure. It has been a year. This year I have posted less than I have in the previous years, mostly out of, protection for my own sanity, right? Um, and it has been an interesting year overall, right? Like learning new things, experiencing new things as a new dad, expecting a number two coming in here pretty soon, working on the PhD, um, all the million little things that I do, and doing this podcast has been a huge privilege of mine, right? And I've really enjoyed it, right? And I'm not stopping, mind you. I'm not stopping at all. In fact, in 2025, we actually have someone coming back onto the show in a regular format, to provide hands-on, in-depth training points, points of interest, knowledge, right? For you to gain, for you to take and gain and put it into your own environments, put it into your own knowledge bank so that when you're interviewing for these different jobs, you can say, hey, I learned this content from Security Unfiltered. I tested it out on my own environment. I learned it, I played with it, right? I grew upon that foundation that we're going to be helping you build. And so you'll be more prepared going into new roles in 2025. And something I want to say, right, is, you made it to 2024. I mean, you made it through 2024, right? And 2024 was no, small, easy year, right? Like the entire year just seems like it's been nonstop hurdles the entire time. Obviously, not as much as like 2020 or 2021, right? But it still feels like there's always something, coming up, right? And maybe that's just life. Maybe that's just, what life is nowadays, right? But, you made it to the end of 2024, and that's an accomplishment in and of itself, right? And I hope that you accomplished every goal that you set out at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the year, typically I'll put out an episode that's related directly towards goal setting. I've done that the past couple years. I'll probably do that again in a couple weeks. Um, but goal setting is very important. And I'll be honest, right? I didn't complete all of my goals. I set a goal of getting a AWS Solutions Architect associate certification and renewing the AWS Security Specialist certification, and I didn't do either. Right. I studied here and there, but it wasn't consistent enough to actually achieve the certification. And so I didn't get it because plain and simply, I didn't deserve it. I didn't put in the work. And that is obviously a failure on my end, but in my light defense, right, I was doing a lot of other things. I was creating content for Cengage. I was creating, you know podcast content. I was working a 9 to 5. I'm a new dad. um I'm starting to do consulting and whatnot on the side as well, which is something that we're going to dive into, likely in the beginning of January. It'll start to really, be talked about more and fleshed out a little bit more, right? So, there's been a lot going on. And I'm sure there's a lot going on in your life too, right? And so, really focus on those victories, though, right? Take this time at the end of the year and reflect on what you actually accomplished this year. Maybe it's one or two things, right? But maybe those one or two things took you 6 months, 8 months, right? That's possible. That's happened to me. But it's also very important for you to identify that and to actually celebrate that, right? Treat yourself, you know? Typically, typically when I reach a goal or a milestone of some sort, right? I'll go and I'll have a nice glass of whiskey, right? I'll have, one of my favorite whiskeys or something like that, right? Or I'll go have a really nice cigar that I normally wouldn't have. Um, Something like that, right? Where it's like, hey, you accomplished something, enjoy it, right? Was it like basking it or whatever it is? You guys know what I'm trying to say. Enjoy the moment, celebrate that success, and then get right back to work. Right? Give yourself a chance to feel that success, to enjoy it. Right? You made it to the end of the year. Maybe making it to the end of the year was your success. Right? Maybe that alone was difficult for you, and I've been very open on, mental health and a wide variety of topics, throughout the years. And there's definitely been years where just making it to the end of the year was a success, where it was like, hey, I didn't do anything else, but I'm here, right? I'm here. Um, those are the years also where I found the most growth after it, right? I got through it. I moved through it. I, just barely, scraped by and whatnot. And then the following year was a huge year of success and growth and milestones that I didn't even realize was possible for me. Right. So it's important for you to, you know, just openly, right? It could be literally to yourself in the mirror, right? Hey, this year was really hard. Good job making it. Right. Um, it's important to identify that. And it's also important to, as the year closes, start switching gears in your mind and thinking about what you want to accomplish in 2025. And the easiest way to do that, I always recommend it to people, put yourself into the future, right? Where do you actually see yourself being? Where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years, right? Well, what does that look like? I mean, truly envision it. Truly get that picture in your head. What car are you driving? Where are you living? What does your family look like? Are you married? Are you with kids? All of it. How much money do you want to make? All that sort of stuff. And then once you have that vision, from there, you can start building your goals. Right. What's the first milestone I need to get into, or what's the first milestone I need to achieve in order to get into, cloud security, right? Maybe your goal is cloud security. Maybe your goal is just IT. Maybe your goal is getting into security. You're already in IT and you're having trouble getting in, right? One, that's why this podcast actually exists, right? It exists for that exact reason. When I was getting started, there was no one out there that was willing to give me any guidance. I kept on being told, literally, basically every single day for 2.5 years, "Oh, you don't have experience in X, right? And so we're not going to take you. We're not going to hire you." I would get to the final round of these interviews all the time, just constantly, and I would be told the exact same thing. After 2.5 years of being told no every single day, I had 2 final round interviews scheduled for the same day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one was in the burbs, and the afternoon one was in downtown, right? And so I told myself, if I don't get 2 offers by the end, or if I don't get an offer by the end of the day, right? Um, Security is probably not for me, right? I'll probably have to go and figure out something else to do, you know? And that was a hard pill for me to swallow, right? Because I had just spent 2.5 years trying to get into security, trying to do all the right things, getting the certifications, starting my master's, right? And all that sort of stuff. And I walked away with 2 offers at the end of the day, right? By the time I got home, I had 2 offers in my inbox or voicemail, and I was blown away, right? And you could also be in that state. And that's where this idea of the podcast spawned from. And I think in 2025, the podcast is kind of it's really going to get back to its origins, right? 2024, we talked to a lot of professionals in the field. In 2025, There's going to be no difference on that side, right? We're going to be bringing on experts in the field talking about every topic under the sun, right? AI security. What does that look like? What does that even mean? Right? And you should be using it as talking points for yourself. When you go into job interviews, when you go into, different rooms, right? And you're talking to other professionals, you may have one or two pieces of information or nuggets, right? That was said on the podcast that you can then use and prop yourself up, make yourself look a little bit smarter, make yourself look a little bit more intelligent, give yourself a little bit of an edge against other people that may be competing for the same job or whatever it might be, right? Like, I'm not saying be aggressive towards everyone in the workplace, but you have to stick out in interviews somehow, right? And that's how you do it. When they bring up a topic, you need to be able to say, "Oh yeah, you know what? I've actually been looking into that recently. I heard this one podcast. They were talking about it. This guy from NVIDIA was talking about AI security. Like, guess what? This podcast exists because we bring on those experts in the field, the absolute top of the line experts, right? The people that I bring on are the best in the world at whatever they do, right? They are the best in the world. And the sponsors that I have for this podcast, they are the absolute best products in the world for what they do, right? I've had products or companies reach out to me trying to sponsor the podcast before, and I didn't believe in their technology, right? I'm not just taking, people's money and putting them up on my website and sponsoring an episode and this and that, right? Because they paid me. That's not who I am. I don't do this podcast to be paid or to be famous or anything like that. Um, I do it to provide value, right? That's my goal. And so I think in 2025, we're going to be providing a lot more value to my listeners and viewers. Um, we are going to be providing a lot more of that hands-on mentorship type episodes, right? We spent 2 years, I believe, right, doing mentorship episodes, kind of coaching you up, right? So now we're going to give you the foundation, right? You want to get into cloud security? The very first thing you need to learn, Terraform. You need to learn Terraform. You need to know it inside and out. You need to know how to plug up Terraform into your AWS account, what that actually looks like, how to build security in right from the very start in your code so that when you're pushing out different infrastructure through your Terraform pipeline, that it's secure right from the start. And when people in the future try to create insecure things, we're going to teach you how to identify it, how to fix it automatically, right? Because that's a core tenet of cloud security, whether it's stated in the CCSP or the CCSK or whatever. Automating your security controls in the cloud is absolutely essential. So we're going to be doing this hands on. I mean, we're going to be, recording our screens, doing it in our own environments. I'm going to be right there with you, right? I'll be asking questions that you may have. And if you have any additional questions, you'll have to put them in the comments and we'll absolutely, get to them and answer them and everything else like that, right? But I think that that is going to be a huge shift in the content that's coming out. And I think it's going to help a lot of people. And that's what I'm most excited about, it helping someone out there. Right. Another thing is I'm going to bring on more people that I find interesting, that I want to talk to. Right. And that's not to say that every person that comes on, I don't want to talk to. Right. That is not the case. That's not who I am. Right. But I'm going to be bringing on some real heavy hitters in the industry, some real experts, people that, have hacked airplanes allegedly while they were flying. Right. Um, all of these interesting people that have done really cool, interesting things. We're going to bring them on. Um, and we're going to be talking about not just their journey, but let's talk about what they're doing, what they're doing in the field right now? What keeps them waking up, wanting to do this thing, right? Because I mean, in the world, you can do anything that you want to do, right? That's the beautiful thing about life, and that's the beautiful thing about America is, truly, if there's anything that you want in life, there's a way for you to get it. There's an opportunity for you. Even if you have to build that opportunity from the very beginning, there's still an opportunity for you to achieve it, to obtain it in America, right? I think that is something that is often um, not looked at or not mentioned, right? By people that don't travel outside of the country. A lot of these people don't travel outside of their state, or their region in America, right? But we're going to be going and talking to some of the top experts in the entire world, and I think that's going to be really special. And in 2025, I'm actually going to start doing a lot more security consulting for companies, right? So this is kind of like I guess my PSA to companies, right now. If you are a company that has a cloud environment, large or small, right, and you need help getting your hands around what's going on in your environment, right, or you don't even know where to start, that's where I come in, right? I've done this for many other companies at this point on the side. I've never talked about it or anything like that. I've never talked about it because I guess there's a little bit of imposter syndrome. If I talk about it, then I have to kind of act on it to some extent. I have to be bringing in more customers and whatnot. And I didn't know if I was ready for that sort of responsibility at the time, right? So I was still doing the work, right? I was providing the services. I just was never talking about it, never marketing it, never had a website for it or anything like that, right? Um, so if you're a company in need and you just want another set of eyes on your environment, you want some guidance, you want some of the top experts in the entire world to look at your environment and tell you, top 5, top 10 things. Hey, this is what you need to do. This is exactly how you do it. This is what we recommend. If you want that, then let me know. Please reach out to me. I'm going to be standing up a whole new website and everything just for that sort of service. So, um, yeah, I mean, I don't know if anything will come of me saying it on this episode, right? I think that we'll probably discuss it a bit more in 2025 in January, but with it being the end of the year and we're going into the holiday season, you can expect, next 2 weeks minimum, 2, 3 weeks, that there's going to be no episodes, right? But that doesn't mean that Security Unfiltered is gone forever. It is not. I'm taking a much needed break with my family, going to get some great family time in here. Really gonna enjoy, the last holiday of only having one kid, right? I'm sure next holiday season is gonna be a lot more crazy with two kids, right? So that's very exciting for me because I love being a dad. It is my favorite thing to do in the entire world. If I could do one thing for the rest of my life and only one thing, it would be being a dad. That's what I absolutely love. Yeah, a lot more exciting things are coming. Um, Likely the next episode that I post will be a goals episode, right? So take the next couple weeks, enjoy the time with your family, and start thinking, right? What do I want to achieve in 2025? Right? What do I want to accomplish? What does it look like 5 years from now? I'll end with this. Almost 9 years ago at this point, maybe 9 or 10 years ago at this point, the Tesla Model X was announced, right? And I'm sure a lot of people saw the LinkedIn post. I made a post on Reddit that, really popped off and whatnot. But ever since that car was announced, I've wanted it, right? I just never had the money to do it. I never had the ability. I didn't think I could do it, right? This goal was something that I had for so long that I actually forgot about it, right? At some point in time, I forgot about it because I figured that's probably just not going to happen for me, You know, the car is too expensive. Um, it's just not going to happen, you know? And I don't want to say I was okay with it, but I put it on the back burner, right? And then subconsciously, I was always going to Tesla's website, looking at, the Model X and whatnot, trying to see, what configuration is the most cost effective and all that sort of stuff. And it wasn't until we learned that we were going to have a second kid, and the Q5 that I was driving was barely big enough for one kid, to be honest, right? Because I'm a big guy, right? I can't put my seat all the way forward and whatnot, and so having two kids in there would be a lot. It'll be a lot. That'd be very difficult. I know your first critique is going to be, well, you didn't have to get a Model X. And you're 100% right. I didn't have to get a Model X. Model X was actually the last thing I was looking at, right? But talking with talking about it with a friend of mine, he reminded me, hey, why don't you look at that Tesla you've been talking about for the past 10 years, right? And I didn't even think that it was possible. But now, right now, I have a Tesla Model X, brand new Tesla Model X, sitting in my garage, right? I say all of that because I set that goal literally 9 years ago at this point, right? 9 years ago, I was making $45,000 a year. 45, right? That's pre-tax, right? That's pre-tax. And so you may be in that situation right now where you are not making a lot of money. You have high goals and dreams and ambitions. You don't really even know if it's possible for you, right? But you have this goal made up in your mind. Maybe it's a car, maybe it's a house, maybe it's a family, maybe it's a number, right, in your bank account, whatever it might be, but it seems lofty to you. But if you do all the right things, you're going to mess up along the way. But if you do all the right things, you work diligently every single day at it, that goal is achievable, right? In this world, that goal is achievable. Um, and still, even to today, I picked up the car earlier this week, and still to today, it it doesn't quite seem real, right? Because for a long time, I didn't think it was even possible. I didn't think I didn't think it was for me, right? I mean, even though I'm making several times more than what I was making 9 years ago, right? It just still didn't seem obtainable. And here it is. I say all of that to encourage you to keep going, right? Whatever that goal is, whatever your dream is, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, it is possible, right? And we're going to go into 2025 with an an even mindset, a motivated mindset, and we're going to get shit done, right? As a security unfiltered audience, we are going to go in and we are going to get shit done. One of the biggest compliments I've ever gotten in my entire career was my current manager when he was describing me to someone else because they were questioning how I was working and things like that. And he said, "You have to understand who Joe is. Joe is like a cyber mercenary, right? You point Joe in the direction you want him to go, and you give him the end result. You say, I want this as the end result. And you tell him if there's a timeline, you give him the timeline too. And when you point him in that direction, you're not going to ask him how he's doing it, right? You're not going to ask him how he's doing it, where the bodies are buried, or whatever it might be. But he is going to come back with that end result within the time frame that you wanted it in. And that is exactly how Joe works. And that is exactly how my audience, I hope, is developing that mentality, right? Where, you set a goal and you achieve it. It may take you 9 years, it may take you 10 years, 15 years, right? I have goals that are 10 years away, right? And the goals for me, because I'm a little bit of a car guy, are all related to different vehicles, right? If I can own this car by the time I hit this age, I will have done really well, right? Because that thing it requires a certain amount of work. It takes a certain amount of expertise and discipline and effort and sleepless nights in whatever area you choose to accomplish it. Now, I'm not telling you to do anything illegal, right? I'm telling you set a goal, achieve it, work towards it, achieve it, right? And then reset, right? So I hit a major milestone this week. I d- 2, 3 months ago, I didn't even expect to hit this milestone. It wasn't even on my radar. It it wasn't, right? I was beating myself up all year since like May when the Model X prices were dropping, and I still didn't have a way of doing it, right? And so for me, I was like, I'm missing my opportunity, my one opportunity to get this car that I've wanted for 9 years, and I'm missing that opportunity. And I'm probably never going to get it again. Right. That's what was going through my head. And so it may have taken me, 6 months to get it, right? Whatever it might be. Right. But once you set a goal and you start working diligently every single day to achieve it, you get 1% better. Maybe you get half a percent better every day, right? Maybe 1% is too much to ask. Maybe you have, 5 kids or whatever it might be, right? Like everyone has different lives and different things going on in their life and whatnot. But whatever that might be, as long as you stay committed to it and you work at it every single day, you will achieve it. Eventually, you will achieve it. So, with that, guys, this is the last episode of the year. I'm not going to post anything for probably the next 2 to 3 weeks, probably 2 weeks, but yeah, I want to build in a little bit of cushion, right? But 2025, we're going to hit 2025 hard, right? I'm going to post more content than I've ever posted before. And I'm going to post more valuable content than I've ever posted before. The interviews will remain the same. The interviews, I'm going to be bringing on experts. And then that midweek episode towards the end part of the week, that episode is going to be very hands-on. If you want to learn how to actually do security in an environment in a hands-on way, watch that episode and follow along. We're going to teach you right from the very ground of how to set up your environment in your on your computer, how to connect it to the cloud, and how to deploy things in the cloud. Everything. We're going to talk about certifications. We're going to be giving you tips. We're going to be creating courses, all that sort of stuff. Everything that you need to be successful in cybersecurity and having a career in cybersecurity, that's going to be on this platform, right? And it may take a while to build it all out, but little by little, 1% better every single day, it will happen, right? It's going to happen. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here, being a part of the audience, being a part of this community. I hope to see everyone at the different conferences next year. I should probably be going to DEF CON. I should be going to ThoughtCon. If anyone in the Chicago area is going to go to ThoughtCon, you'll see me with my Security Unfiltered shirt. Um, and yeah, we'll see where 2025 takes us, but I'm very excited for it. So, with that, you know, thanks everyone for being a part of this community, and I can't wait to achieve what we're going to achieve together. See ya.